The All Smiling Faces podcast is now sponsored by Tyre Spot, the Northeast's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Always Smiling Faces podcast. It doesn't matter how many times I said we're about to go live. We start the show with he's a bit of a prick, and you're never going to find out who we're talking about.
Besty.
Wasn't
not wrong.
It was
not
Mark,
wrong.
It wasn't Besty, but it is four of us tonight. I am your host, Kris, joined by Besty,
Hello.
Mark, and Deka. And Deka, now that you've been slagging people off, that's done and dusted for the time being.
Yes.
Start the show with a magic word,
Oh,
mate.
yeah. I didn't win last week either. Did I? So anyway,
Just what
that's why you
people
didn't turn up. Well, won you now.
Get
Get in there, lads.
One step closer, Deka.
Massive win.
It's in touching distance now because that was such a huge game.
It that felt like the one for me because it was quite funny actually. I was really. I think I sat here 2 weeks ago when I was here, or the week before that one. And I said I think we could finish second. But we still had a lot of work to do. I think we still had 4, maybe even 5 games left at that point.
We're talking about Newcastle or Arsenal at this
point. I was talking about us, of course. And I really did think we could finish second.
But didn't clarify it later.
No, I wasn't.
Bastards, you know. So anyway, I thought we could finish second, right? And then when I was having a chat with the lads in the group, right? And Dane and that the lads were like, "Oh, I'm really nervous about the day." And I was like, "Listen, there's absolutely no way. Like, we're not going to finish in the top 5. Like, what on earth he's worried about?" And Villa won. Was Villa play on Friday? Did them play before us? Villa. No, they played Saturday. Sorry, of course they did. They played Saturday night, right? Didn't I? Then I checked the league table and I went, Jesus. And then all of a sudden, I went back in the chat and went, I'd like to rescind what I've just said this morning because this actually looks a lot tighter than I thought. But back to your question, yes, I thought if we could beat them, other results also went our way. Man City obviously stepping up and all the rest of it. We're really in the box seat now, and I think we're fine now. But if I'm thinking of the heights of getting the second, which can I just say, my God Almighty, can you imagine being second?
Second place in our hands as well, because if we win my 2 games, it means that we'll lose one of this. So
it's insane. So lads deserve so much credit for yesterday, and fingers crossed we can just, if we can push up to second, my God.
Me and Mark came up with some form of agreement on Sunday during the game. To say that Besty is banished from St. James's Park.
You're not allowed to go back.
Important games. We seem to do well when you're not there.
I was only going to go back once before September anyway, so
that's fine.
Aye. No, I didn't think
pre-season. You can go that one.
Didn't think I'll probably not see Oasis. I guess on the same day as that game will be anyway, so I'll be missing it. But I didn't feel that nervous before the game. I didn't go. I was in Dusseldorf all weekend, so I watched it in a pub next to Manchester Airport with Taylor, who does other things, and a couple of other lads. And he's trying to look for a defender of some description somewhere. Like I said, I didn't think I felt that nervous, but the noise I made when Bruno scored made it a mockery of that.
Was it your stomach again?
It was everything. It had been a heavy weekend. I've been eating Lucas Podolski kebabs all weekend.
Oh, how good are they?
They're lush, aren't they?
They are unbelievable.
They're really
Anybody good. That went over to Dusseldorf when we played over in Dortmund will have fond memories of those kebab shops.
It was weird, those a TV program on telly years ago. It was a French language thing called what was it called? Not the Revenant, but something like where if you try to leave along this road, you ended up coming into town through the same road again. So like on Friday the 13th, you run away from something, and then you just you leave a room on that door. You come in that door,
like Scooby-Doo-esque,
sort of like that. Every street I went down, Lucas Podolski. Like every street, every time I walked down the street, went on the corner, the same Lucas Podolski kebab shop just felt like
following you.
Yeah,
there's a lot of them.
I only got one as well, as it turns out. I did pretty well.
Very tasty.
Yeah, but so my dad had me tickets for yesterday. I've not spoken about it yet. But didn't think I was as nervous as I ended up being. I was quite chewy in the second half.
Yeah, I think everybody was in agreement with that, Mark. We'll go through certain key moments of the game, but that second half, I think it had everybody quite nervy because it only looked like one team were going to score, and it looked like it was going to be Chelsea that were going to equalise.
It was a strange old. I mean, like I said to you at the time, didn't I? God, you'd think we were down to 10 men because the amount of the ball that they had was just unbelievable, and it was. I don't know if it was we were sitting off them or whether we were just happy for them to have the ball because. In all honesty, they didn't really threaten with that much of the ball as they had and the pressure that they were putting on.
Decent chances I had.
Cucurella chance.
Yeah,
Cucurella had a chance.
James was ahead. I was a big
somebody else who we watched
Hernandez.
Yeah,
that was a great save from Paul, that Hernandez one, by the way.
But it did felt that they were the team that had the extra man with the amount of pressure and possession that
to the point
that they had.
Where I counted them.
Well, I didn't. I was like,
I do that sometimes.
I counted them and I thought,
have they snuck a player back on because it just Cucurella was constantly free in the. It was after we made a bit of a change, didn't we?
And weirdly, because that change you'd think would give us more of the ball, bringing Miley on for going to four at the back, and then but we just didn't seem to get the whole of the game at all. And it's probably after the red card, you'd say, really. It was the same watching it. It just felt like. I thought that at the start of the second half, I thought, we're letting them have the ball because we're keeping them at arm's length. They're not doing anything with it, really. But then it became more apparent that that wasn't by design. It was just that we couldn't keep a hold of it. And they were pressing Murphy an awful lot. Murphy obviously playing right back,
struggled second half. Murphy.
He did struggle a bit, and I think that's when he brought Crafter and moved Murphy up front, and that was to try and relieve that a little bit.
What was your thoughts on the change of lineup and the change of tactics and formation and stuff? What was your
interesting one? It was you wouldn't expect to see Murphy. It felt like it would be Murphy and Bonds or Gordon, same with the 4-3-3. Nice to see Botman back. I thought Botman played really well. Chelsea seemed to target him. I will come to that later on because they were horrible.
I think, to be fair, I was more calm about the formation because we're so similar against Arsenal, and I panicked a little bit going in that Arsenal game thinking I've got no idea what performance we're going to have. It's kind of five at the back, isn't it? Really?
Villa last season as well, we did.
Yeah. So I was more calm about it.
It was forced on me, wasn't it? So it's not like it was a choice to do it. It kind of he's had to adapt based on who we've had available.
If Trips was fit, we would have went with back.
Yeah, I was fine with it.
Well, based on what I seen before the game, because obviously I went on an app and it had the formation layout of the team. Well, that lineup formation was not what we played.
It was completely wrong.
So it was 4-3-3 with Gordon playing.
I had Dan Burnett left back on that.
Wait, that's right. So Tino was right back, Burn left back, two centre halves, of course, and then you had Gordon basically playing where Joe didn't want to play. And I was thinking, oh, that's interesting. And I was thinking, would we have maybe more of it? Again, I'm hypothetically talking because I'm only viewing what I've seen. It would be more of a triangle at three in the middle where Gordon's going to be kind of behind the front line, and we'll have Bruno and Tonali just sitting. And I was like, this could be quite interesting. However, then when I watched the game, I was like, that's nothing at all what is on this bit of paper. So no, I wasn't bothered. I found a few things interesting afterwards. And then Craig Hope said it as well about that particular formation can get Gordon and Bonds on the pitch at the same time, and because it does allow you to do that. But it's not maybe a formation I'd like to see play all the time. But I agree with you. I wasn't worried because we've done it against Arsenal very successfully as well. So I wasn't.
And I think what Mark said was kind of forced. The fact that Trips is injured, Willock was injured, Joe Linton's injured. You think, well, we don't have many other options.
I mean, you could have played a back four by doing what technically Tino right back, Burn left back. You sorted.
You could have done
that, right?
You could have started Kraft even.
Yeah, you could have.
If you were so inclined to keep Tino at left back.
I thought in my opinion of the game, right, and just in regard to some of what was said there, was scored so early, right, which I know we'll come to. And sometimes I feel if you don't get that second goal, if you get that second goal quickly, you can turn into a Tottenham game where it was 6-2. Next thing you know, you're 5-0, right? But the longer you take to get that second goal, I can understand why the players probably get a bit nervous and think, we just need to.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, that bit of nervous then really is almost a retreat in certain ways. And we were letting them have the ball. I just felt maybe because we couldn't find that second goal earlier, we were a little bit nervous. And it's understandable. The crowd were as well. It's totally understandable. It's not a criticism.
That was one thing.
It's understandable.
I came across on TV. The atmosphere. I was with Darren Blackbird, and he had a text on Jack Blackbird, almost related, but not, saying that the atmosphere was like PSG early on.
Early doors,
very good. Early on, and then during as the game went on, second half, we were struggling to get in the ball. Weren't really, and you could hear you hear Chelsea fans on TV. You couldn't hear the atmosphere at all.
I thought in the first half as well, it was electric. It was fantastic. But I thought the instruction from their gaffer was, I need you to keep the ball and quiet their crowd down. And then the second half, I felt the same. There's loads of times Chelsea weren't going anywhere with the ball, but it is a great way to silence the home crowd, right?
It's very, very hard, Deka, though, when you're conceding in the second, third minute of a game, though.
Must be said, though, as well.
I mean, unbelievably hard. You know what I mean? Like, the goal itself, I mean, I was joking with you about the finish, saying, like, did he really mean that finish? But he did. I was just joking.
I'm not convinced.
I think he means it.
I
like,
think
it feels like it comes off the back of his foot a little bit.
On the replay that I seen just tonight there again, probably I think he might have.
It looks like he sees the keeper make the move, the initial move, then he just tries to adjust and go, I'm going to have to hit this into the deck.
He's definitely good enough to do that. So, I mean,
I was criticising Gordon when I at first because I just didn't like when players do what
Let's talk about
Sorry,
Gordon, because obviously he's first off for a little while, isn't it? And he spent a lot of the time on the deck.
I've got a feeling I'm going to have quite a different opinion, because I thought one of the main reasons we did as well in the first half was the trouble that Gordon gave Caicedo.
No, I agree.
No,
He started off.
Caicedo should have been sent off after a quarter of an hour.
No, I agree, Besty. I think everybody's in agreement that Gordon, he was doing well when at the start of the game.
Yeah.
As the game went on, you could see he was tiring. Hence why it's probably him that was
he's not
sacrificing.
played a huge amount, has he, over the past couple of months?
And despite Barnes having a stinker throughout that game, it was Gordon that was sacrificed, and Barnes stayed on the field.
Yeah.
When we had that adjustment in the formation, and every single fan in St James's Park was calling for Barnes to be taken off, like, because he had a stinker.
I think he got hurt. He took a blow.
Second half, he was.
He took a blow.
It was after changing. After we made the change and he came across to the left.
He was down a bit in the first half. He got a stamp on the foot.
Yeah.
Which I don't think he quite recovered on.
Okay. I thought it was coming together with knees. It looked like he looked in bad. That
was Tino.
No, Tino came down.
Tino won mine.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he continued.
That was the wee bounced.
We were looking straight up the line of that one.
Yeah.
The noise.
Honestly, the whole corner just like because it looked horrendous.
Like I say, look, I'm telling you, he kind of, it's again, Neto goes under him. Neto has a look.
They were absolutely disgusting.
They did it a load of times.
Disgusting.
Well, Caicedo could have been sent off twice. I counted 4 or 5 yellow cards he could have had. Enzo should have gone.
Cucurella was constantly at it.
Always at it. And then obviously, I didn't see
Palmer was dissent all the time.
He got booked.
Bruno was having a good. I mean, Dan Burn and Bruno were both having a chip.
At half time, though, Besty, he was still on the field with the referee, and the referee was keep pointing into the dugout saying, "Get away from us."
Apparently,
he did the same at the end of the match as well.
Tyndall and Maresca have fallen out because Tyndall's apparently asking Cucurella why he was spending so long on the deck.
He's winding him up throughout the game.
And Cucurella being a bitch, he's gone and told him, "You'll never guess what he said about me."
He took the ball away from him at one point as well, didn't he?
Tyndall did he?
Yeah, he kicked the ball away from him.
I was pointing at Gordon. I would have said, "You see that guy over there? Just kind of word with him."
So yeah, we'll go back to Gordon. And Deka, we were watching the highlights, and we know that Gordon has won us a lot of penalties since he arrived at St James's, but he was trying a bit hard
every single time. He was on the deck all game.
I mean, there's one where he stepped across.
The first goal, I mean, he's screaming and rolling around on the floor. The second that we're on the break, he gets up, he's running around San Marino Tonali. Now, obviously, everyone will be on here going, "Oh, it's great, it's fun, it's great." I'm sorry, it's not. Like, it's just not.
There was one in the second half which put us in mind of Mr. Mark Walker. Sorry, the first half, where he was running down the line, and he stepped in front of Palmer, like adjacent to him. He steps in front of Palmer. Palmer runs into him, and they're gone down. And I think they mentioned on Match of the Day. No, I didn't watch Match of the Day. I watched something else where they said, I was in bed, where it said, "Oh, it looks like Gordon stepped in front of Palmer rather than Palmer making a foul." And obviously, the conversation we had last week about the Tonali penalty thing against Brighton was very, very similar, where the fella's just done what he could to he's gone out of his way to get in the other blokes win. Gordon did that. He's running, the ball's there, Gordon's there, Palmer's there. Gordon kind of steps in front of Palmer and makes sure that it's foul, and it's not a foul. Like, I think he got a free kick, but he shouldn't have done.
Yeah,
but yeah,
just like there was another penalty in the second half, the other one,
and I think that
he's done now, hasn't touched him.
I think that's maybe belies the fact a little bit that Gordon isn't. He's remember when Isaac came back from injury a while ago, and like this is 2 seasons ago now, I think, where Howe said he's fit enough to play, but maybe he's not fit enough for Newcastle. And I think that might be Gordon's thing at the minute, where he's fit and he's all right, but to be the work that we want him to do, he needs a bit more.
So do you think that's why he's fallen down? Do you think he's rather than trying to physically go past the player, because most of these times, he's in.
Yeah,
he's actually in, but he'd rather go to the ground. And Mickey used to do it, by the way, and I used to criticise him for it as well.
The one before the first goal, I've still not seen back properly, so I don't know whether or not it was actually a foul. I'm guessing by what you're saying here is that it wasn't Mox staying tight-lipped, so he's probably got some outlandish
he's probably
theory
dying to
about
jump over the fence, because it's my
how
opinion.
it's like how it's actually Stephen Taylor's fault or something like that.
But if you watch it back, though, truthfully, right, if you watch it back, just take your black and white glasses off or whatever you've got to do, and just observe what happens in them moments, right? And Gordon is rolling over the floor, screaming, right?
He does.
And the second the ball goes into the box, he's up. He's literally up watching it come in.
That's not just a Gordon thing.
Every
player.
Well, then I don't like any player. Then I hate every player.
We're so Chelsea.
I hate every player. I hate the game.
But
It's not.
I agree with you. He does do it a lot, and I think that there was a lot of frustration with him on Sunday because he was staying down when the ball was then away, and he wasn't once the free kick isn't given.
If that was my mate,
get up and get back on with it.
No, there was one in front of you actually in the second half where he went down and he's like having a bit of like, just get up. It's 1-0. We've got none of the ball. Okay, come on.
But in fairness, there was a lot of times where he was clattered and he wasn't getting.
But the problem is you're making a rod for your own back when you're rolling around.
That's where he's frustrated.
Because then you're going to get belted. And you're right. It probably was a foul, but you know what I mean. Anyway,
that's what he was saying to the referee as well. Because he then got a bit of a telling off because he's obviously saying to the referee like, you're not giving us any protection here. I'm getting kicked up a height. You're not giving us anything, blah,
because
blah,
of Casino, one of them.
Yeah. Like that was just on the halfway line, wasn't it? Which was a naughty one.
There was a couple. There was one Palmer. I think Hernandez got booked for dissent because he was losing his mind after Palmer had apparently fouled Gordon.
There was two of them on the touchline.
That wasn't a foul at all. Palmer was absolutely could not believe that was given as a free kick.
And there was one before a corner.
I was the same as I was on a foul.
Fernandez pushed Bruno over before a corner was taken. Referees had
I thought he could have been because obviously that was a yellow for dissent.
That was one of his.
And Hernandez was just doing one after the other.
Caicedo was one on Botman in the first half. We stayed down for a bit. It was like I said, those fair forward Caicedo. He's
a lot with him.
Every time the ball was in the air, it was the old Harry Kane backing in. Backing in. That was obviously how Tino got put upside down.
It's a dangerous one.
They did it the whole game.
I love how that's known as the Harry Kane as well, by the way. I think
everybody got that.
Well, funny enough that the Gordon one, when he steps across Cole Palmer, that's a Hurricane as well. That's how Harry Kane gets a lot of penalties.
And I know, listen, I feel like I've just belted them all over there. I get it, right? Because it's clever and you're manipulating your body to win a freak. I honestly understand the game. I get it, right? It's just frustrating at times where, especially the one rolling around as if you're in loads of pain and then you get back up again. I would be saying the same if that was Jackson in our box or whoever in our box. I'd be saying the same thing. So
let's stick with Jackson then. In fact, no, let's talk about Jacob Murphy because he gets another assist mark. Another one.
Another 20 this season.
Only Mo Salah has got more assists this season than Jacob Murphy.
There's loads on 19.
God,
like 4 or 5 on 19.
So I'll ask the question, and you'll probably laugh. Should he be in consideration for an England call-up?
Absolutely not. But based on his based on his form, that's why the conversation's there. Isn't
players that are delivering, getting assists just in form. He has to be.
Who plays right wing for England normally?
Saka.
Yeah.
Now, the only reason I'm going to say there's a lot of reasons why I'd say no. Actually, is maybe system wise that the England manager may want to play. He might want to play with an inverted winger, right? Yeah. So that may be the get out clause. But I totally understand the point you're making. That if you're looking statistically, how can he not? But let's be fair, no. He cannot. I know.
I think he can get in the squad for me. Like,
the thing is the fact that he is a right-footed right winger is what's getting them a lot of those assists because you see case in point with Sandro's goal.
Yeah.
A left footer does not put that cross in. Well, when the way that they obviously they've got to come back and swing it that way where he's pulling it back around.
How rarely you see the ball coming from the left hand side because it's always one of Tino who has done a few actually more recently. Tino, Barnes, or Gordon, who are all right-footed and would therefore kind of get 18 yards out, 20 yards out, and cut back in.
Yep.
If you've got Lewis Hall, obviously you can overlap. I think overlapping fullbacks, generally speaking, you would do that. I suppose that's what Murphy was on Saturday at that point.
Well, there was a lot of a lot of people used to get frustrated with Almiron, right? Because you knew what was coming, right? Like he'd be charging down that wing and he'd have to come back round to get on his left foot, and it was a frustration where I totally agree with Mark that like pretty much every assist that he's getting has been because people are treating me going, he's basically David Beckham in disguise. Everyone's, and I'm like, well, steady on you. But like, I get what they're trying to say. I do. Because
It's
everybody
early, isn't
of course
into
it
the
is.
box and into
Absolutely
the
is.
space that you can't do if you're left-footed on that side.
And obviously, a lot of fans, I think, and a lot of you on this table went to Bremer in the summer, right? And I get it, right? Everyone at work was talking about the day. That then our style of play in that regard changes a lot, then, right? Because you're back to the traditional inverted winger coming inside, etc. I keep saying that. I always got wrong coming inside. I said that before.
Do you know what it is though? With Murphy, he was getting in these positions, and there was a couple of times, Mark, he was running into the box, and he's delivering the ball at that point, and we normally just expect him to smash it towards goal. And you think you just don't know what you're going to get from him.
Yeah, he is kind of varying his game up a little bit, isn't he? Where I think he is becoming more of a, and obviously it's backed up in the stats. He is becoming more intelligent with his play and looking for that pass, looking for the assist rather than, oh, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'll have a wild shot or I'll just hit it and see what happens. He's purposely looking for a player either in the middle. There was a couple of times where he even tried to pull it back, but there wasn't somebody there, or like that goal is delivering it to the back post. It was a wonderful move for that goal as well.
It was a great move. It was a
the
good
ball
move, yeah.
shifted and then he just delivers it into that the corridor of uncertainty, gets past the first two, beats the defender, and then there's Sandro with it.
But it's
great
Tonali
finish.
winning it back, isn't it?
Yeah.
He wins it back, and he's done that loads in the last handful of games.
Yeah, winning it back, and
Joe Linton love a tackle on the edge of the box.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like I've said this a lot, like about players in the box, getting players in the box. Where there's a lot of times we've said there's only Isak up there, he's isolated. But now not every time, but a lot of times we break and we're putting the ball in the box. There is Tonali's in there. Even Joe Linton missing if he's playing. There's numbers in there. You know what I mean? Question about Murphy. I was going to say there was. Actually, move on because I forgot. I do apologise. It'll come back to us, though. It will come back to us.
Shall we talk about the sending off then?
Yeah, John.
Because that's the next real thing, isn't it?
Yeah. At the time, I mean, we're watching it and we didn't think it was a sending off because it didn't look, and obviously even on the replay, he doesn't swing his arm back like you would kind of expect for an elbow in that situation. So obviously we're relying on.
So it was more like Ben Thatcher on Pedro Mendes.
Yeah, it's what does it is when you see the VAR is the fact he gives him a look.
He's
looking where
he look at him.
He doesn't stop looking.
But he's done it a couple of times where he's like, as we've already said, backing in, looking to kind of get underneath the defender and stuff like that. And he's just because he was having a tough old game.
It came out of frustration. That's where it came 100%.
From. And it's that look, and then he just forearm smashes him basically, doesn't he?
Yeah.
No option.
Mark's bang on there because I think I'm with him that in real time because there wasn't that movement.
Swing.
I thought it was just the player's running and he's elbowed him like in the
you know what I mean?
But as soon as you see the replay, and that's where I'll have to credit VAR, even though I think it's shite really. But in that moment, it's getting him sent off, and rightfully so because he definitely eyed him up and thought, "I'm going to get you here." Like,
yeah, he does, and it took a little while for the decision to be made as well. On the commentary, it was Ali McCoist on co-coms, and he was less sure, but the commentator was going like, "It's a red card, that Ali," and he's going, "I'm not too sure." He's making a case for how it could have been an act, but he looks at him for a good. He takes a few more steps. He kind of leads with his arm. He doesn't just lift it. He kind of goes in with it like that.
it's a bad one.
It's a real, like I say, it's not quite as forceful as Ben Thatcher all those years ago. Like, but it's
what you don't see on the obviously on the coverage and stuff like that is that the players obviously all go over to have a look at the monitor as it's being reviewed and stuff like that. Even he comes over as if he doesn't know what he's done, and he's still arguing like his case that he hasn't done it as it's being reviewed. And then as soon as it's shown, he's like, "Oh," and he just like drops.
Have you ever?
He doesn't even sort of retaliate. He's like, "Yeah, no."
Have you ever seen a player take so long to leave a field?
Oh, he was
took ages.
Like ridiculous.
I remember saying because it was like 35 minutes exactly. Gunks, I was saying I was take 55 minutes to walk off, but win the game. It's fine. Just take your time.
Yeah, it was honestly crazy.
Start the second half. You start off there, and then just walk off the rest of the second half. And then full time champion will win. It's strange, but again, like you said, half time they were surrounding the referee and saying, "Oh, well, they're complaining that was 2 minutes left on the pitch." Because they could have been down to 8 men. I mean, that's not exaggerating. Quite comfortably. And
referee lost it a bit.
It was terrible. And he, in the second half, he gave one out either.
Be back to my question that I had about Murphy.
Yeah.
So, do you know how, like, back in the day when Joe Linton went into midfield and he had a couple of good games, and our opinion was,
after the Kieran Clark thing?
It is. There became a point in a time where we went, do you know what it is actually? This is his level. Because I always expected that level to drop off and he'd become
that player. Yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
It
What
took me a
Jordan-
couple of summers. Yeah. I know what you mean.
do you think that Murphy can? I'm not saying get 20 goals assists, but because that's a lot.
Absolutely not.
Right? So are you on the camp of this is going to just spiral back to Jacob Murphy?
This is his Mickey season, isn't
Right. So this is me pointing because I was saying this to people at work today, and everyone disagreed, but just a point. So if you believe that this is his Miggy, because I use this as an example, do we now sell him then at his absolute top and get the most value for him, or do we accept that he'll be a great squad player, so we'll keep him, but his numbers will be terrible for him?
It probably is the point at which I don't think his value will ever be higher than this
It's
summer.
never
He's got a
gonna
couple
be
years
higher.
after his contract.
Never going to
maybe.
be higher.
How old is he? He's 30, 31, isn't he?
Yeah, he's about 30. And
he must be slightly less than that. I would have thought.
No, I think he's
Yeah,
gone
we'll
past
go
30.
then.
It's
Yeah,
every
we'll
week
go.
with it. I'm sure
I'm sure he's
Murphy's
30, like.
30 at the very least. No, I think he's 30 or 31. I don't think he's like
I would have
like share age.
29.
He's about the same age.
30-year-old.
Yeah, he's about the same age as Josh Murphy, give or take.
So I
Minutes,
just
isn't it,
thought it was an interesting debate. Everyone was like, no, you keep him as a squad player. But just my honest opinion was, you're never going to be able to make more money off this man than
Who
now.
comes in and buys him though?
Well, I get what you're saying, but like, if he's flirting with an England call up, he's ahead of Salah, or sorry, just behind Salah for assists and all that. Like,
Yeah, but
there's
the
a lot
thing
of
is that
these
we-
things,
spin it
right?
round.
We won't be the only ones with the opinion that this is a
I agree.
purple patch. That's
Yeah,
kind of
and spin it round. We've just said he's 30-year-old. Who's going to spend a lot of money on a 30-year-old Jacob Murphy? I don't think
Tottenham
that
might,
the money that you're going to bring in for him is going to go very far,
Right. Okay.
rather than keeping him as.
Well, I was hearing,
that
I was
backup player.
hearing Longstaff's, and that was 15 or 20 million when he was shite.
Yeah, but the difference
So,
with
like-
Longstaff is the fact that there was no purchase fee and things like that with Longstaff.
No, I
was
don't know.
Murphy about 10, 11 million? I mean, it's 7 years
It was a long
now,
time
so-
ago, though. Yeah.
He wasn't even that, was he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're not getting for
Rafa days, wasn't it? Rafa bought.
It was when we came back up. Maybe signed that summer.
He was.
And do you know what it is? I'm gonna put it out there and
He
say
was
I
awful.
don't.
You used to defend him quite a lot, like.
I'm gonna put it out there and say I don't want to sell him. I want to keep.
I like him. I mean, even if he was crap, I would still like him.
He's a nice fella. He's a lovely
No, not
lad.
even to do with that. He's had a fantastic season, and fingers crossed he can continue that in the next season.
So
There's
that-
not
so-
saying he can't.
Thing is, when you say,
So do you think he can? So my question to you then, do you think he can?
I don't think he replicates numbers from this season, but the last
How-
three,
how
the
many-
last, the last
How many
three
times have we
seasons.
sat
No.
there at the match and
Yeah.
said, God, he's been awful today.
No,
And then all of a sudden,
But the
you
last,
get an
But
assist
why are
or
you
a
going to do
goal.
that next season?
the last 3 seasons, Murphy has done that. He was excellent at points. He has been excellent at points in all the last 3 seasons. I couldn't tell you that he's been great for 38 games in any of the seasons that he's been here, where he's been here for a full season.
He has
Just
had a
before-
good season this
He's had,
season.
he's had a good season this season, but he hasn't been great. You know, I mean, but who has been?
He's
I
been
suppose.
remarkable this season. I would say not just good. He's
Yeah.
been remarkable.
But I
this
think
season.
this
Whoa.
He had a-
stats.
he had a spell. He had a spell.
Let's just remember some of the performances that have surrounded
I'm
those
with you, mate.
stats.
I'm with
Yeah.
you, yeah.
But then, like, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, Isaac hasn't been phenomenal, but he still keeps on scoring goals for
Thanks
the last
to Pens.
month or so.
Yeah,
6
thanks to
weeks.
Pens.
That is the important thing, isn't it? It's what is down on paper, and it's how many assists you get,
Yeah,
how many
obviously,
goals you
just
score. and You
before
can't
people-
fault them for it. You
People in the
can't.
comments here saw kicking off on that. I'm not saying we should sell him. It was just a conversation hypothetically. And the reason why I mentioned it was because
I'd keep him as a squad player.
I still think maybe Almiron were perhaps missed a little bit of a trick when he had that purple patch. We didn't try. Maybe we did try and cash in. Obviously, I don't know that, but I don't know.
Who knew Jacob Murphy would go on that run to keep Mickey out of the team?
I don't think Jacob Murphy knew, to be honest with you.
That's a fair comment.
I would keep him though. I like Murphy. I think reading bits that I've read this weekend, and obviously there's loads of hearsay this time of season. There's loads of nonsense written. Looks like we're going to have a little bit of spend in the summer anyway, and that's
True,
before
true
outgoings. And I think it's accepted that there's going to be a few first team squad players, maybe not from the first 11, but players like on the bench that'll be going, and then they'll be getting alongside and all.
So maybe there's no reason to be penny pinching, and
I don't think
I
so.
get what you're
And
saying.
also, if we finish second this season, how much better do you want to be? I mean, we're already the second best team in the world.
Yeah, true. Not true. Sorry, Chris.
El Grande
Still the
Salmon
runners
has-
up of the Champions League.
He
table,
summed it
I'll
up. So El Grande Salmon has summed it up. He says
Barca.
he's never really excellent, but he does excellent things.
That
Right.
is very well summed up.
I'll tell you what I would say with Murphy, and it's something I heard Howe say a while ago. I think I said it last week. Was that Murphy's game is pretty much set up to be like Isaac's PA. He's receptionist. He's number 2.
Yeah.
And that's why his numbers have been so good. It's because Howe's just they're a partnership,
It's a great partnership.
kind of
Yeah,
like
I think that's
Beardsy and
fantastic,
Colwell
actually.
all that
Yeah.
time. Well, obviously standards, whatever. I'm not saying he's as good as Peter Beardsy,
Yeah.
but obviously I'm not saying that. I mean, Peter Beardsley
Any garlic though.
Beardsley probably wouldn't like him very much for a kick-off, like for reasons. But I think that's one thing I think with I love Brian and Boomer coming in. They have the thought of that, but I don't think Isak's numbers are as good if he comes in, because he doesn't. And Boomer doesn't just come in and do what he needs to do to get the most out of Isak. He wants to do what he does for himself as well. I think he's enough of a different player to Murphy that Isak loses some of the delivery, shall we say.
What I do love the idea, and again, I'm not saying Sam Murphy, this is my other opinion of that, is if you keep Murphy, which we will, right, and we will sign Sabre or I want Semenyo, but whatever, doesn't matter. The option from the bench is such a different, it's not a like for like, is it? You know, if he's having a stinker, right, and you bring on Murphy, it's such a different
change the dynamic
of the team, right? Which I like. I love that it's a different option. It's not just like for like.
Yeah, I think that's
what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good thing.
You've also, like as you've just mentioned, Barnes there. Can Howe mould Barnes into that more being able to, because he is right-footed? Can we use him on the right and get him
the job he has done with Joe
those
Linton
things?
and Jacob Murphy? I think Howe could get me to play right wing.
You were ideal, Jack, on the idea.
I wasn't a right
Can I
winger.
just say, just on
you.
Deka being an absolute athlete, right? He signed into his YouTube login before we went live just to show what he had been watching. Guess what his advertisement was?
Pizzas.
Kebab.
Domino's pizza.
Kebab. So you were watching a YouTube video and it came up advertising the kebab in the middle of it.
I didn't even know kebabs.
Absolutely.
Was that German
Was it GDK?
kebab house? Whatever. Is that what
That's
it's
the
called?
closest thing to Lucas Podolski you can get over here.
Aye.
Is that they have one in Sunderland, didn't they?
There's one in
Aye.
town.
One
Is
in
there?
town as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one in town up for
It's
a
like
little-
underneath the
Metal
Malgron,
Metal Centre's got one as well.
But
just
aye.
down from the gate.
Peer promotion with
Fabulous.
kebabs.
Unbelievable.
No better. No better.
Sorry. If anybody's got any questions, send them away. We'll go through as many questions as possible. So just chuck them our way.
I would just
I'd
say,
like to move on
say
to-
to Jake Murphy, I still love you.
I'd like to, yes, yeah, at times we'll love you. Botman.
Yes.
Just wanted to touch on Botman. I thought he did very, very well.
was in
Yeah,
the
really
wars
well
as
there.
well.
Considering
He was the target him as well. Like,
yeah, they
definitely.
did. And considering he's been out for as long as he has and coming back into the game of that magnitude, that was a really, really good performance.
Chelsea are a good side in good form. I
Absolutely
know
right.
they
Six
slipped off.
wins or something like that.
Yeah,
He picked
they
up.
slipped off obviously from like I don't know January, February time, but they've had a good run until they played us there at the weekend, and they had injuries. That's why Kai said it was full back. That's when Jackson got sent off, there was no option for them up front anymore.
But for the rest of the season.
That's great news. That's brilliant news.
I mean, that's absolute stupidity from him.
It's
isn't it?
outrageous. Yeah,
Like,
see
in
the
that
Chelsea fans
situation.
online are really up. Like,
Ridiculous.
oftentimes you'd see like fans go like, "Oh, it's never a red card." It's a go. All the Chelsea fans that I've seen online have said
I've
like, "I
never
can't
seen
believe
one
one
It's
person
like
just
obviously
agree.
when Gordon got
against
sent
Brighton."
off for us, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ahead of the cup final, it's the same sort of impact.
I have a Deka stat.
Yes.
This is actually
Love a
true
Deka stat.
because you would have read this, you would have seen this anyway. So it was Besty's point that made us think of it. So 20th of December, Newcastle are 12th in the league,
I've seen this.
11 points behind second place Chelsea. The 11th of May, Newcastle are 1 point of second and 3 points ahead of Chelsea. Only Liverpool, 46, have earned more points than Newcastle, 43, over the last 20 Premier League games.
it's kind of similar
That
what Chelsea did to us last season,
Unbelievable.
where the chase were down and eventually finished in 6th. We were 7th. We didn't get European football.
I remember
kind of the same
because
thing.
that was about the time you wanted Howe out on the tour.
I was just about to say it makes a mockery
It's
of him
the
wanting how out now.
Get the
banner on, get the banner.
Oh, Wolves third in that form table. They're really high up as well.
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah, I
they've
think they are.
had a great run.
I can't tell you who's not in the form table. Manchester United, that's for sure. In Tottenham.
Still be in the Champions League next year. though.
Bastards.
I
no,
want
yeah.
to be fair, we'll have a bit of a discussion about the Premier League table and the bottom of it as well towards the end of it, because that is mental, absolutely mental. But we'll come on that a bit later on.
On Botman, because I know
Sorry,
we're touching on there. I thought he looked fantastic, and I don't know if it was my imagination, but he seemed to look quicker than he has in the past.
It's
as
the
well.
best he's looked since coming back,
Funnily
right?
enough, there was one point where he got done and I was having to go with Dan Burn. And it was Brian's
Botman.
no, I was Botman best.
We did see the slowest
Oh.
race that we've ever seen on a football field, though, Mark.
Bruno and Enzo.
Bruno and
wasn't it?
Enzo was
Yeah,
the worst foot race I've ever.
I reckon me
ever
and Besty
seen.
would have given them a run for the
Derek
money.
Wright against
You could have caught up from Germany.
I think Derek Wright's faster than Bruno. I really do. With his bag, I actually think he beat him like.
Derek Wright was
Derek
rapid,
Wright was rapid.
He was running in mud, but I love Bruno sprinting at full speed because his little arms are going like this as well.
Yeah.
It was
He- going
hilarious.
nowhere.
There's a lad that sits behind you because he says it a lot when I go and And then Bruno's running, he goes, "Go on, fatty." He always say, because he does run like he's fat, but he's not. I'm just saying he runs like that though. When you say him, "Go on, fatty, run."
Honestly, he was like an absolute steam train running, a very slow one.
Did you catch a ball yesterday at one point?
No,
Was
so
it
where
someone
did that
next to you?
come from?
There was a clearance in the, I think in the first half, and someone round yous caught the ball.
It was in
It
the
looked like it was in your
it was
row.
in the section below.
So just beneath the walkway.
It was some of that fat
no.
bald bloke with a beard.
No, it was. So do you know where the camera normally is? There's normally a camera, like one of those swingy cameras,
Aye.
like a couple of down from us. I think it landed in that bit.
Right.
It was directly in front of it because
I saw something. I thought, I was said, like, there he is on the telly again.
Now
These contacts.
I would always try and.
apparently we were though.
I
My
thought
daughter took a picture of when pointed at like that at the telly.
What point at the telly?
She was pointing at the telly at us.
Oh, like from a long shot, do you mean? Like miles away, you could see where our seats
You
are.
would see where
Oh, right, okay.
wasn't like where faces
When
going.
Bruno celebrates.
Hello.
obviously, Yeah. Speaking of Bruno celebration, he knocks out.
Which one?
What?
Which one?
What?
Which celebration?
Oh, which one? Yeah. So he whacks what about another 5, 6, 7 celebrations out the bag? He loves absolutely milking these celebrations.
doesn't score that many, does he? So I suppose he's got to.
And to be fair, his interview afterwards, we'll talk about the goal, but his interview, the presenter that asked him the question, he says, I took a big deflection. He's not big. He's still trying to put his laughing his head off when he's saying it. And
It was such a poor free kick as well, wasn't it? That
Horrendous.
it was awful, wasn't it? That led to that goal. It's mad football.
so Dan Burns asking for the ball, expecting
Understandable.
back post,
Yeah.
headed back in. Like he normally does, but it just
The pass was
lands.
awful.
Everybody else is gone.
Aye.
Everybody else is in the box.
It was behind everybody, so Burn had to come back. He did very well, Burn. He took
Yeah,
it down well.
nice little pass.
He played a one. He
Yeah.
wanted the 1-2 because he wasn't happy with Bruno because he wanted the return
he
pass.
was way back in
He
the
wasn't
box,
happy. Yeah.
So if people haven't seen it, go and watch that goal back because Dan Burn is holding his run as well
Yeah,
in line with the
yeah,
defense,
yeah.
which is mental.
It was going to be like his goal against Southampton in that
Yes.
took it to the final the first time, wasn't it?
Yes, very much so.
But yeah,
PSG as well, pretty much. I think. If I
Peter
remember.
did he score against Southampton?
Aye.
Longstaff got 2,
At
did he?
home.
It's in James's. No, Longstaff got 2.
Oh, was it not?
Leicester, he scored against in the quarter.
Oh, it would have been the Leicester goal.
Maybe
Sorry,
that
that
was
must have been the
So that's on his right foot going like back across the goal.
It was the same area coming in from.
Yeah.
That's what it would have been.
but Bruno gets his goal and the massive sigh of relief from everybody where we just went, thank fuck.
Because I think we'll mention him at the start. I also just want to mention Pope as well. I mean, there's been a lot of people maybe on his back a little bit occasionally, but he pulled off 2, I would say, really good saves. Certainly the
World-class
Cucurella
saves,
one's a
mate.
great save. And you need that, you know what I mean? Like, I was speaking to people today and they were like, I didn't play very well, blah, blah, blah. Hey, man, the result is what counted. That's what mattered.
Yeah, yeah.
Besty have said Chelsea in very good form. It was a huge game. Yes, we didn't play particularly great, right? But you come away 2-0 winners. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what matters. And your keepers had to stand up and be counted for. But that second goal, as you say, like, I just,
Oh, such a
you knew
relief,
them
that.
were safe. You know, so.
It's always nice scoring it late on in the game as well.
Mm.
Would have just been
I'd rather he'd scored half
made
an
the
hour earlier.
afternoon a bit easier.
There was so many times I looked at Mark and Ian was sat to me right for this game. And I just looked, I was going, I am not enjoying any of this in that second half.
That was that chance Bruno had with Murphy, like chipped the ball over.
Lovely
Cucurella's
pass,
head.
yeah,
He just laces it. He
yeah.
doesn't. You're like, aye.
It was a bit in moments because we didn't have much of the ball. It didn't feel, but like the Brighton game where there's a lot of good football being played. It's just that final thing,
Yeah.
that final moment that passed me, perhaps the shot at the wrong
We were
time.
very, very sloppy
Yeah,
at
sloppy,
times
aye.
in the second
I
half. The
found
amount of time we gave them the
Give them
ball back.
yeah.
Just rushed things as well.
Like
whereas
on halfway as well. It's not as if it was like a really
Well,
high
no-
pressure because they were pressing.
without
high.
any pressure as well.
They were pressing really high. Well, they
Yeah.
were pressing quite high, like in fairness, but
No, but we were
we
like
couldn't play around it.
just like even when we were getting it and like trying to play like a simple ball, it was just under hit or just a bit lazy and stuff like
I
that.
couldn't remember Miley touching the ball.
So I think
I
Miley
couldn't
came
remember
on.
Shea mentioned it until he got booked.
I think Miley's came on with the role of just chasing Palmer.
Yeah.
He was just constantly chasing him around the field. And I think that's probably what his role's been.
Yeah. To be fair, he was the one that was trying to drag them into that game.
Palmer, he's
For a
back and
lot of
forth.
it.
He's looking good
Yeah.
again form-wise, isn't he?
Yes. Davy Eddie says, maybe 8 games now that Isaac has been off the pace, yet we are still flying. Says something about our team.
He probably scored
Marvelous.
about 5 or 6 goals in that time as
Out
well.
of form, yeah.
I mean, scored penalties and stuff like. But
Oh,
yeah,
penalties,
I mean, we've made the point that he's only missed 2 league games all season. Liverpool away, and
He's got to be knackered.
he'll be gushed. He will be good.
I think as well. This is the point. The question, sorry, and the point is absolutely bang on. I just think even when he's not on form, though, he's taken 2 defenders, job away, and that's allowing the likes of Tonali to go in at the back post here and score. Because if I was a defender, I'd be exactly the same. Where's Isak? That's the first thing you'd be thinking of, right? And that's what's amazing when you've got such a great player up front. And just think when he does come back into real Isak form that we know, I mean,
He'll be still here.
well, we'll win the league next year. Anyway,
There was a point though, as the second half was going on, it did feel that we needed to make a change and for him to go off because there was just no outlet for it.
He played the whole game.
Aye, well, oh no, he went off very late.
No, did Wilson come on? But it wasn't
Yeah,
Wilson, was it?
Wilson came on
It was Wilson. Okay, I can't remember.
because. Oh no! Did he
I
not
actually
move
can't
over to the
remember. I
left?
can't remember Isak going off the field, if I'm being honest.
Did he move over to the left for Barnes?
I
Didn't
can't
he?
remember. Somebody in the comments will tell.
Aye, he went over to the left, didn't he? Yeah.
There was a lot of changes and a lot of things happening, formation changes, but I think Eddie Howe handled really well. We've already mentioned Murphy struggling at right back. Kraft comes
Gordon
on.
went off for Miley, and then Murphy went to right
I think I
back.
was looking now.
Isak came off in the 94th minute for
Yeah,
Wilson.
I was
just
just say it was
before
really
full-time,
late.
yeah.
Aye.
Wilson.
And then Kraft came on.
Mad getting an
Went to
appearance
right
fee for
back.
that, isn't
Kraft
it?
came on for
Yeah, money for that. Yeah.
stuff him.
So
Bruno.
speaking
No, it
of
was Bruno, wasn't it?
Bruno, was it?
speaking of Emil Kraft, how much of a Raji is he? He wanted a scrap and fair play to him, like.
I've seen a thing. I forget what it was on now. It was about just the lads talking about training maybe a year ago. Saying like if you don't cross Emil Kraft.
Oh, he's a nutcase, man.
Yeah, I've heard as much.
Like I can't remember who went down. It might have been Isak or Gordon. Somebody's on the deck. No other Newcastle players there, but there's about 5 Chelsea players around him trying to pull him back up. And out of nowhere, Kraft just goes in and just starts pushing everybody. And I loved it. I loved to see it.
I'm sure he got booked for
He
that.
was
He did.
arguing,
Only one that got booked.
Yeah.
he was arguing with Palmer and Hernandez in their box. I think it was a lot. And Palmer came over and said something to him. Like it must have been bad. Like
Yeah.
he kind of hit his mouth and said something. And
I
Kraft
saw
went,
that.
he went
Aye.
like grabbing his. I don't know what he said. Your breast stinks or something. I don't know. But he said something, and Kraft wasn't having it. Like he wasn't happy at all. Like I also found it funny on the. I think I shared this video. Everyone's probably seen it. The one where they're like, there's 5 of them. I can't
Yeah, we go rank yourself.
rank yourself
Yeah.
like best.
Oh,
here
I've
and
not
all
watched
that.
them yet.
Kraft's like Gobby is out on that as well. Like
Oh,
so is
yeah.
Wilson, as you would expect.
That's what I've got to do with it.
Tino's like
accent,
side
He's a
of
Geordie accent.
I
Who's
do the Geordie
youngest,
accent,
yeah,
so
they're the two that I've
Tino
seen.
saying
I really
Sula's
love
like
it.
that fly that you just want to swat
I know he
away.
just yeah.
Sula done my head in
Head in,
that
aye.
video.
Yeah.
Like
He-
honestly,
he's-
he's done my head in.
You can see how game he is, though, can't you?
Yeah.
He's just game us out. Like
Like he seems like one of those characters that'll be an absolute menace,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
just behind the scenes.
How's got
But
his hands
like
full.
that video I
I
seen, I
love
just wish he would shut
I-
up.
Absolutely love him.
Is there anything else that you want to mention from the match, or shall we just talk about how important that win was, Besty? As I keep you awake, sorry, mate.
Sorry, I'm still
He's
tired of
jet-lagged.
the weekend.
It's all that bad,
Jet
man.
lagged after an hour and a half flight. Longer driving the flight.
It was crucial, wasn't it?
It was a good weekend,
Yeah.
it was a nice couple of, like I say, I went out on a Thursday. I've not been out of Düsseldorf for like 12 years, so yeah, it was pretty crucial. Like a nice time to reacquaint myself with the city.
What was it like since the last time you went when the wallet came down? In Germany?
It was interesting to see the damage that the Allied forces had done during the war. Mark, I hadn't realised that would be quite those bouncing bombs really buggered them. Like, but no, it's a massive result. Like I said, it's the old 6-pointer thing where it's not us getting the points, or not just us getting the points. It's Chelsea losing the points, and then with Forest dropping points at Leicester in the next game, with Man City.
that was a big result for us.
Man
that as
City,
well.
Man City getting a draw.
What's
being held with draw
that Man
Southampton.
City one still shocks me now. Like
Yeah.
Southampton. How?
I mean, we were the only team in the top 5 or 6 to win at the weekend. Villa won as well. Yeah, I think Villa will finish. I think 69 points is the most they can get, and I think they've got Liverpool and Arsenal. Man U left.
they've got Man United, Spurs.
Chelsea, you've got to play.
Sorry,
for
that's
that.
right. Yes,
If you could pick 2 teams,
I know. If you could
Oh,
pick
it'd
two
be them
teams,
2.
because they're the ones that are. And I've
Don't-
spent a little bit of time. They shouldn't do this because every team will have the same kind of things. I've been looking at like what happened if Gordon scored that penalty at Goodison, if we're beating Brighton at home and West Ham at home like we should have done. We're home and hose for second place then, like But that's I say every team will be looking at results like that and going
course.
if
Everybody's looking at your auntie.
exactly that. I was with her son on the weekend.
I think I absolutely agree with what you're saying.
They're getting bigger now.
But like the second and third, I mean, of course it matters. I'm trying. How can I word this better? So like, you're right. So you take these odd little points here and there, and would have second.
Yeah.
God, it just shows you though that what it takes to be first. Like,
Oh yeah, aye.
Because even though I know how mint we've been and how great we are, we're still miles away from
I don't think
being
it's
top, isn't it?
this isn't the greatest
Still
Liverpool
talking
squad.
about Newcastle here, or going back to Arsenal again.
I'm gonna hit him in a minute.
Well,
I don't
every time
think-
you mention Eddie Howe with me, we're going back to Arsenal.
Nah,
You take it.
I don't think it's a great Liverpool squad either. Really, I think it's
I
the
agree.
teams beneath them have taken points of each other. They've just been that consistent.
I agree.
It's almost like Klopp's last year, but now next season because Slot, obviously Alexander Arnold's away to probably Real Madrid by the looks of things,
He's gone.
and things
You
like.
reckon?
He's gone. He's already said he's
You
joining them.
reckon?
You see the
No, but
booing
he hasn't said
yesterday?
Real Madrid yet, has he?
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah.
Has he? I didn't know.
Aye,
Sorry, I
aye.
didn't realise that.
You know,
They're trying to buy him
see
early.
Messi with the booing. You know, see the booing
Hey,
yesterday.
that's ridiculous, that mind.
You'll never walk alone until you want a new challenge.
Yeah. They're trying to buy him early, aren't they? So you can play in the.
I don't want to
Yeah.
be a
Sorry, I
nifty for
didn't.
World Cup.
I'd seen that he'd said he was leaving, but I didn't say it was Real Madrid.
Alonso's going there as well.
Yeah,
Marcus,
manager.
7 years.
Fullback.
No,
Marcus,
Xavi.
Xavi
Xabi Alonso.
Oh, that's right. He's going to Brazil, isn't he?
Of
Of course, that's right. Yeah, aye. Poor big changes there. Huh?
Aye. But no, I agree with you though, Besty. You're right. I mean, it's probably every team does look at that as well. You know, like in terms
Yeah,
of
yeah.
how to beat them, man.
Man City against Southampton there the weekend is perfect. I did say one thing. Forget what I was reading now. Our games against the top six, the big six, not top six. Now against the big six. I think
Big
we've
game.
done something like 1-8 and drawn
Does that
2.
still
1-7
include the
drawn 3.
bottom 5?
Well, 'cause it's still a big six, isn't it? That's
Right,
it's
right,
not. That's why I corrected to say big six, not top six. Because the top six, we're third,
We've been
I
a
think-
big game side this season.
Yeah,
massively.
that's what I was
Bournemouth,
going to
Villa.
mention.
we're unbeaten
They're
against
all in
them.
there.
Unbeaten against them at home. Sorry, at home we're unbeaten
Yeah.
against all the big.
I was going to
Big
mention
six.
this, right? That back a few years ago, you go back any time we really, not any time. There would be the odd time we would, but most of the time when we needed to step up, we would get beat or would concede in the last minute. Or
Yeah.
like the old Newcastle, we would have been 1-1 yesterday. It just would have happened. Like them would have
Yeah.
scored, right? I just find we're just so consistently able in the big moments to turn up now, like which is amazing.
We're
Like,
really hard to
brilliant.
break down.
We are
really
we're
hard to
such
break
a
down.
good side, man. Like
It
really.
did help, and Eddie Howe made reference to it as well. The crowd,
Yeah.
and I know you said it seemed to fall off in the second half on the telly. It was still going.
Yeah.
It mightn't have been as audible, but there was points during that game where it was literally the whole stadium, which we
You
know
could hear it was when it
struggles
goes.
to happen. But once it hits that east stand, and again around in the
Thanks,
Milburn
East
and the
Do you think again a bit of nerves as well, though, right? Like you are worried about conceding a goal, right? And it's a difficult one. It's a hard one because it's
So
something you
that's
don't want
the
to be.
moments that,
Yeah.
and it always really frustrates me. That's the moments where the need.
I know,
This
yeah.
is our name,
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
supporters. That's when they need that support.
12 o'clock kickoff never helps on a Sunday. Like we don't.
Well, that's
Tend
why
to
you
do
go out
quite-
for breakfast at 9:30.
It was
And
perfect for me. 'Cause I got into the bar 5 minutes before kickoff. Like my flight landed, got no delays, straight through, check out, bang, lush.
somebody was very, very hungover and didn't drink.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, I had a hooch.
Drinking raspberry hooch.
I quite like a hoodoo
I had a
raspberry.
hooch.
I'll be
You know, like when you're so hungover, but you still
Yeah.
want to have something alcoholic, and I say, I need something that isn't a pint here. Like, so I opted for a pink hooch.
I don't mind a hooch. Like.
Let's go through some questions, shall we?
Best part of the night. This.
Come on, everybody, get some questions, and we've already got a few. We'll start with Josh as always. Thanks very much for your donation as always, Josh. And he says, what do you think of the Nottingham Forest owner going on the pitch at full time yesterday, having a go at Nuno? Could you imagine our owners doing that to Eddie?
Chris, Eddie, shit yourself.
Could help us guarantee top 5, as I can see Forest bottling it now.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because it's Forest's first time they've qualified for Europe since 95 or 96. Like, he's got no right to be upset about. I know they've dropped off a little bit, but he wouldn't have been expecting Forest to be anywhere near where they are.
Have you heard what he said and what happened? Apparently, so
I did see Nuno get an interview, but I didn't
yeah.
really.
So, I was going to actually mention this to see what your thoughts were. So, I took it for what you was. I looked at it that way, that he's come on the field and he's having a right go because they've dropped off and they haven't won a game and blah blah blah. But apparently, from what Nuno's saying, is that there was a player and I didn't watch the game, so I could be wrong when I'm saying this, but there was a player for Nottingham Forest got injured or something, and they took him off the field, reviewed him for ages, put him back on the field, and then he collapsed again, basically.
Down again, yeah.
And he was saying, "What on earth are the medical team like? We've wasted so much momentum and time to try and get a goal."
Right, so that was his thing, was it?
That's what he was saying. Apparently.
He quite often
No.
goes on the pitch at the end of the game.
yeah,
It's not a new thing.
However,
He does it regularly.
he should still not be doing that. I don't feel
It's
he
not
could-
time to be doing it. Like,
it's
no,
not the
no,
right time.
that's-
But
It's a continental loan. I think that with
Nuno.
him, he's Greek, isn't he? So and there you see that quite often in Greece, in Turkey,
True.
like that
Especially
kind of thing happens a lot.
That as well, mate.
He's a big man.
He's a monster.
Big old boy, like
Where do we get the
Monster.
t-shirts from? Oh,
yeah. I mean,
those are big old t-shirts.
Oh,
I'm like,
I paused it. I watched it try. I paused it a second and went, how can you get in that shape? Like, it was just remarkable. Like, but anyway,
well,
Mark, tell him.
if you put weight on the way you should, Deka.
I probably should look like
You
that.
should be
if
that
I'm honest,
size.
I probably should look like that. But you shouldn't be doing that. But Nuno he handled it brilliantly well, Nuno in the press conference. But he also said like everyone's really that was a huge game because it was a derby, wasn't it as well? I think so. It's a huge game.
Of course, that's the derby. Yeah.
So it's a big game. He says every fan was emotional. I was emotional. He's emotional, but to the point. Now, what I'm not a fan of, though, by the way, is you had Gary Neville's of the world immediately. He was on co-coms on a different game and went, before it goes any further in this game, I need to say that Nuno should walk out. He should not be putting up with that. And I'm thinking, just shut your hole, man. Like, stop. Why has everything got to be such a dramatic moment? And he'll be the same one saying, we don't see the passion anymore on the pitch. The players are shaking hands before a game. Because if they did anything that was slightly controversial, you'd be jumping on the next show saying it should be sat or it just fucks us off.
We've had a couple of comments.
He's probably upset because he's got Leicester playing close up.
Well, we've had some comments coming in, and apparently, I don't know if this is correct, but he's not the owner anymore.
I think
he surrendered. So Ian says he surrendered his ownership the other week. Then Mark Vickers say, isn't he the ex-owner?
Is he not still? I think he surrendered a lot of his ownership, but I think he is still
percentage-wise.
Does that change then? So if he's not the owner,
no, but be anywhere there.
Yeah, well, let's say he's I don't know. He must have some shares in the place or whatever, right?
Yeah,
so
I think it's Jim Ratcliffe.
If he's not the owner, can he do what he wants?
But he's
so we could use our very own example. Once upon a time, Amanda Staveley being a 10% owner at the time, or Jamie Rubin, he had 10% until he bought Amanda's shares. If one of those came on the field and started having a go or having a heated conversation to like Eddie Howe, as a fan base, we're going, this is a circus.
Mind the world on the pitch quite often give him a kiss and a cuddle.
But that's nice when you see those sort of things.
Yeah.
But then that's fine.
Deka's eyebrows going.
Don't do it the other how. I think everybody knows Deka's opinion about how involved Amanda was.
No, I loved Amanda, and I wish she was still at the club now. The point I've always said, and this is more so social media driven here, is that when a player, owner, or anyone's very active on social media, it's a dangerous place to be. I think because it goes wrong.
Tony's when Villa was a big example of that.
Yeah. When it's going swimmingly, you look amazing. You're $1 million. You're engaging with all the fans. We love you. But when it starts to go wrong, it can be a problem, right?
Well, we were seeing it here when Eels and Silverstone were having talkings at the gate and stuff like that. And we're getting a bit too pally and we're singing,
dancing on the stage.
Have you ever seen them in Milan and stuff like that?
Didn't like it.
It's a bit too. That's.
Can I just go back as well? That Champions League draw when he said that, by the way, was really
that's not necessary.
It was just not necessary. Like, just not necessary.
No.
I think Mark didn't he? I'm sure you thought it was all right. But no, he shouldn't be coming on the pitch. Like, he just shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, I agree. So apparently, he is still the majority owner in terms of investment, but he's stepping away from football.
Has he not just stepped down from the board? He's not like the chairman kind of thing, but still,
it'll take him some effort to step back up, I guess. Like,
he'll have 4 people to lift.
Next question. Let's have a look. So this one is from Wilson. That says maybe this is a question for later.
Wilson.
I love doing
every
that.
time, yeah, Wilson, you do that.
I kind of not think of that clip.
The West Ham. It's the West Ham, like watch along or something. Yeah. So Wilson says,
the ironic thing is, it's probably an Everton podcast that I've got you on.
I'm doing the same. Fuck off. So he says, who is your player of the season? We have obviously, once again, we'll do envelopes where we put our predictions in there and we'll open them at the end of the season. So only 2 games away from opening those. But right now, if you had to pick somebody, who would it be?
Dan Burn.
I'm between 2, like.
So I'm agreement. I'll say Dan Burn, but I've probably only went down that path in the last 2-3 weeks, I would say.
I'm between Tonali or Dan Burn.
2 or 3 weeks?
No, because I would have said Isaac.
I think Burns. Isaac wasn't in wonderful form at the start of the season. Took him a little bit to get his first one.
Or Jigger Murphy.
Dan Burn's never been less.
And I said Lewis Hall, but the injury. I think if it wasn't for the injury, Lewis Hall would be.
Lewis
Hall
100% would have been up there if it wasn't for the injury.
It's hard, isn't it? Because like when you get to this stage of the season, right, your memory can be clouded, can't it? Due to, like, say, 8 weeks to 10 weeks of football. Like, you look at that window because the beginning of the season was so long ago. It feels like God,
I
it
can
feels.
assure you, Dan Burn was brilliant. There.
No, and that.
He's been excellent all
That's
season.
why Dan
Burns.
Burn is me number one, and he has been. But
Yeah.
Tonali is slowly but surely.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say again is it this section of time where Tonali's more beautiful and he's playing amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Been since he's came regularly in the team. It's
Yeah,
like
it is.
December time. So the second half of the season, he's been unbelievable.
He's been brilliant, man. Yeah, he has been.
And probably if Jacob Murphy was called something like Jacob Sanchez Aurelio, I'd probably think he'd been in there as well.
Jason
So, like,
Sancho.
it's a funny one, isn't it? Like it's wrong of me to say that as well, but
It's great to have so many choices, though.
his stats are just so
It
good.
is.
How can he not be up there? But Dan Burn has just been colossal.
Because
like-
the performances have.
But there's been so many. Like
Match,
Trippier when he's
yeah.
come into the
There
team
has,
over the
yeah.
past couple of months.
Oh,
The
yeah.
cup finals been
Like
amazing.
Trippier again.
You can't win a trophy and come hopefully second and not have multiple choices of players.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You can't just have one man who is the absolute greatest and be that successful, if that makes sense. Everyone has to
If
have
you
that.
think of Gordon until he picked up his injury and the sending off, he was having a fantastic season as well.
Barnes has been great since.
Yeah, so but consistently wise for me, it can only be
Jacob Murphy.
Dan Burn.
Yeah, Dan Burn for me. Like, yeah, definitely 100%.
Best left back this club's ever had.
Unbelievable. Like, where does he rank in terms of centre halves?
At the club at the minute.
No, in throughout.
Newcastle's history,
Yeah.
you mean?
Because
funny one, is
the
it? 'Cause-
one that always gets thrown is Woodgate. Normally, every time I have a
Woodgate is
conversation, always
by
gets-
far
yeah,
number
yeah.
one.
But even
By
then,
a
you
million
look,
miles.
look at the teams that were part of. People talk about Colaccini,
Million
but
miles.
Colaccini was
By a
part of
million
it,
miles.
apart from one season. It's shit, Newcastle. I mean, he's the kind of most recent kind of one I think that people really pre-take or whatever. Woodgate was grand, but he was injured a lot, and he didn't hang around that long. He probably played a few of them, 35, 40 games for the club. So
He's good though. When
he was
He
brilliant.
was very, very good. He's without a doubt the best defender I've seen at the club. Lejeune for me is up there as well, and again very
Derby's
Very
right.
similar
few
tail
games,
to,
yeah.
to Woodgate as well.
But does the longevity not kind of count for a bit more for you? Because Burns done it now for 3 seasons. I mean, last season at left back, so and he did struggle a little bit with kind of because he's
2 seasons at left back.
well, on my target. Oh no, yeah, sorry, yeah, beg pardon, yeah, Mark. I apologise. He had a broken back last season, so he was out for a good few weeks with that. A couple of months, I think, actually.
Is he ahead of Shea?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Shea, but
Share under Bruce wasn't great, was it?
I still think pound for pound, like you'll not find many
So
better.
if
than
you're-
Shea.
No, like over the entirety
Yeah,
of
yeah.
his time here, like
This would be a nice little
Sorry,
sub
I'll
podcast
stop
that we
it.
could do for a all-time best 11 for Newcastle. But I think if you're putting Woodgate in there, I think that's a topic to debate between Fabian and Dan Burn. Like,
I'm in that corner because I think it's unfair on Shea to just be like.
I love Shea, but I think Burns been
But the more
Yeah, yeah.
the more I think about Burn in terms of what he's done since he's come in the club, right? I'm putting him ahead of Woodgate. I just
yeah.
am.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I am.
I mean,
and,
Burns won a
and
cup.
Woodgate probably.
he's
yeah.
played in the Champions League forward, which Woodgate played in Champions League as well. Did
He's
Woodgate play in the Champions League forward?
consistently been unreal. Like,
Yeah.
I
He
mean,
has, he's been
the odd
excellent
shaky
at
moments at
centre-half.
left back and a little bit of arguments for him about it, but like, I mean, how
It's centre half.
he's absolutely colossal,
He's
man.
been excellent and
Colossal,
so
man.
consistent. He's made the
Oh,
occasional
yeah.
mistake here and there, but like
Yeah.
the time of his tackle, he's good with his feet, which people forget about because he's
He
a big
is.
boy
did
and
a
stuff like that.
fantastic sliding tackle second half.
He did.
He's
He did.
absolutely
He's
mint.
excellent. I think he's a
Mint.
really good centre half now. I would have him above pretty much anyone in the Premier League era.
That's-
Not completely anyone, but
Yeah.
I can't think of many. I think top 3, 4, 5 definitely.
Not ahead of Boom Song,
Yeah.
but I mean, everyone's got limits, haven't they?
somebody's mentioned Booms.
He definitely makes me top 5 worst.
Sorry, next question.
Let's go through a couple more questions. Jules says, anyone partake in your free drink? Bestie wasn't there.
Taylor Porter's one though, so I'd kind of.
Doesn't count. Didn't get a voucher. Bestie wasn't there. Me and Mark, it's too early going
Too
to the ground
early.
an hour before kick-off. It's too early. Because then you go and spend another £7 on a pint after it. So we didn't get one, but plenty of people did. It's nice of the club to
It
do
was
that.
great. I mean, we didn't have to wait very long to get in the club when we turned up.
Straight in,
Really?
straight in.
How long before kick-off?
About 15 minutes.
Oh, never.
Straight in.
They do it every time.
Not a queue. Not
So
a single.
that's the thing. Like, if everybody is going in to get a free drink, which is a lovely gesture to do it, put it on. I think the plan was trying to get everybody.
Yeah,
a bit,
it's a
bit
loss
longer,
leader,
but
isn't it? Like they'll lose out a little bit of money on that one, but then people might buy 2 or 3 more that they wouldn't have bought
Yeah, of
otherwise.
course.
And yeah, it's how it works.
I've got a question, but I don't know if you want to cover it on this one though.
Yeah, just go for it.
The crest.
Oh, I would have thought that would have came.
We'll leave it till the end.
Okay.
We will talk about the crest. We are going to do a separate podcast about
That's what I mean.
about the crest. Yeah, but we can touch on it. Of course, we can. Let's go through a couple more questions. First of all, though, Fish and Rod says, "Did you see the clip of Bruno blowing a kiss to Fernandez, which was outstanding?"
Very good. Yeah.
They've had a thing for a little while now, haven't they?
Nationality.
They don't
I
like
think
each other,
that's
do
the
they?
thing,
He's
Brazil,
Argentinian.
Argentinian.
Yeah.
That'll be why. El Grande Salmon says, "Is Tino better at left back or right back?"
Right back. Next. I
Based
think he's
on,
excellent at both.
think
based
he's
on
very
what
similar.
you've
Yeah.
seen, there's
I don't think there's much in it.
not a great difference, is
He
there?
did really well at left back last season. He played there away to PSG, for instance, had a great game. Obviously, the penalty was unfortunate, but wasn't a penalty.
Never a
was it?
penalty.
But yeah, I think he's better at right back, but I think he's extremely good at
Definitely
left back as well.
Probably, but it's a wonderful option to have. Wonderful.
And I don't want to kind of dismiss how good he has been at left back because he's been excellent.
It's been
Like
fantastic.
when Lewis Hall got injured, we were kind of would have been sweating. A lot of people would have been kind of worried as to how what's going to happen next. Is Dan Burn going to go back to left back? We'll only kind of play there really. But
for the last 2 seasons.
not well. But
When he
Tino's
did
been
get player
excellent.
of the season, one of those as well.
Not left back.
The first year he did.
I thought he did.
Anyway.
Shall I go to the next question?
Yep.
It's a shame for Lewis Hall, isn't it? Like the season that he'd had up until that injury,
I
he'd
don't
been
think
fantastic.
there's any doubt he comes back into the team
Oh,
when
of
he's
course
fit
not.
and Tino goes to the first choice at right
You
back.
just hope it hasn't impacted him severely. That's always a worry with
What is it? Is his knee?
an injury like that.
Yeah, long-term injuries are never much fun. Like
No,
but
no.
players couldn't come back. Like let's say Botman is still no one's really too sure because he's had so many false starts.
The thing with Hall, he's so young, isn't he?
Oh yeah,
So
he's
so let's
yeah.
hope
Rubber
that-
bones and that.
You hope anyway, because if
Yeah.
his age can help.
We've had a question from Sophie, Ian's wife.
Oh, with a new surname.
Yeah, a new surname and everything.
Oh, yes.
Sophie's in.
I'm not sure if this is Ian using her account. He's burned her account.
Oh, God, when
Um,
she finds out what he's been watching when the algorithm was kicking in.
Hi, Sophie. She says, with the new format of the Champions League, do you think we will progress further than we were last time?
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
possibly think,
I think
so.
it's-
Undoubtedly, I think
Makes things a
because
bit better for her.
you play. Is it 8 games in the group stage now, or is it more than that?
I think
But it's not the same team twice, so we wouldn't be in a situation where we'll have to play Dortmund twice, and Milan twice. Although I did see a graphic, the prospective Champions League teams, and we were the rock bottom in pot 4, so we would theoretically have the hardest draw. But that's kind of the way it works.
What was that by finishing 5th though?
No, it was. It
It's
goes.
your
In, it goes in
pedigree,
the
isn't
way-
it?
way backwards,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
Right, yeah.
But I thought, I mean, like I said, I don't think Villa get as far as they get this year if it's not the league stage.
I agree with that.
And that's not. I think Villa have had a great season. They are a really good side, and there's a good chance they'll finish higher than again this season.
There was some weird games in the playoff game, like Real Madrid playing Man City, which kind of I don't think the format was ever really designed for that match to ever happen, but it was just that both teams performed so poorly in the group stage. I mean, Man City almost went out.
Yeah,
Man City were getting beat left, right, and centre.
yeah, they
Them
would
would have been out-
qualified on the last.
Them would have been out if it had been a group stage scenario.
I think they knocked Celtic on the last game, didn't they? Something along without they weren't playing each other, but I think that's how it worked.
But
Yeah,
I think we
yeah.
will. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we do.
I agree.
what's your thoughts on? Because I have my own opinion, but so we've got top 5 obviously for the league,
Yeah.
and then you're going to have another one going in due to the fact that the Europa League is 2 English clubs. What's your thoughts on 6 teams being in the Champions League?
I think it's
Come on,
absurd.
I'm
I think it's
completely.
absolutely
Yeah, we're
absurd.
just-
If you bother to
back.
turn up to
Yeah.
these shows once and
I think
twice or twice a
Yeah,
time.
we discuss it and say it kind of takes
Too many.
the value of the competition away a little bit.
Well, what I
Prestige,
found, man,
remember
is
when we
what-
finished second and we ended up in the
UEFA,
Cup.
because we got beat off Bilbao, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well,
No.
everyone was kicking off. We beat the 3-0 at home, and then we got beat.
That was the 93. That was we finished
3-2.
third.
3-2.
We finished second in
Yeah, 7-9.
96 and we got beat off. That was the year we beat Ferencvaros, Metz. Got knocked off by Monaco. in March of
absolutely
97.
ripped apart as well. coming
Yeah,
out.
totally a guy.
But anyway, the Man United fans were kicking off in the comments and stuff. Of loads of stuff I was watching saying, people now only care that an English team's getting that the competition rewards you to get to the Champions League because Man United's there. No,
No.
we're saying that even if Tottenham win, man, you dicks. It's because
Yeah.
You dicks.
there's no league in the world should get 6 teams in that. Because I just think it doesn't at the minute for me because we're going to be in,
I do not agree with that.
what 6? If almost your top half of your fucking leagues in one competition in the best club competition in the world.
Yeah, because you're the best.
Yeah,
six-
fuck.
You're part
No
of the
chance.
best
No
16.
chance in
What I
this
don't
earth.
agree with is
No
one
chance.
of Spurs,
Spurs are
and
one-
Man United
Aye.
getting into it for winning that cup.
Nah.
But
No,
if
I
it's the
agree
top,
with
if
the,
it's
the Europa.
if it was the top 6
It's a bit of a
clubs in the league,
I
then
don't
I've
think-
got
I don't
no-
think 6
I've got
I
clubs-
no
agree that
problem
the
with
winner
that.
of competition gets in it, like 100%. It just so happens it's 2 shit English teams.
so
Well-
who would
Yeah, but why should you get in the Champions League because you win the Europa League?
Well, why should you
Why
get,
wouldn't you just
why should
automatically
you- why should
qualify
you
for
get
the
in
Europa
any
League?
European
the same
cup
as
or winning
anything.
a domestic cup?
why should you qualify for the Europa League by winning the FA Cup?
It's the same thing.
Why should you get in the
That's-
Champions League for finishing 5th?
That's what you do, but
But that's what we do now.
No, but if
It's been the
you
same for a few years
No.
now.
surely you would defend your cup by going back into
That hasn't
that
been the case for a
competition.
long time.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But it should.
For me, the Europa League, right? And I'm not just saying this because these two teams have finished 4th and 5th bottom.
Which
If
is
you
amazing.
if you win the Europa League, you go back in the Europa League because
that's what you should do.
oh yeah, sorry, I'm sorry.
saying
I
that's
just
what
love
should
arguing
happen.
with you so much. I'll argue it again.
See, I don't
Even
know.
on the same.
That's 100%.
Now
what should
I know why they've done it because it's trying to incentivize a competition.
Yeah,
fair?
it's-
Yeah, because Europa League's
Yeah.
kind of been diminished by
Yeah.
the expansion of
Which
the
is a
Champions League
shame.
so much.
Yeah. I do think
But
you,
if that club was to then qualify from the Champions League through positions in the league,
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's a completely different story. They deserve to
What
go into
happens
the
then?
Champions
I agree
League
with
then.
There's a Champions League place go to a team
Yeah,
next
but
to
It
the
goes
Champions
to
League.
somebody
Goes to
else.
somebody else.
12th
So
place.
it'd be-
so this is where we're getting in the realms.
So that's
of
where it could
daftness,
go to 7 teams at one stage from the Premier League would have
It's
gone through.
No, they wouldn't
I don't.
There will still be 6.
No, it was the top 6, and then would have been them through qualifying for that. Because if Villa had have got through to the
No,
Champions
sorry, Mark. I
League,
think you're right. Yeah, I'm sure. No, I'm sure. I've heard that wouldn't have been the case, even though it sounds like it would be, and like kind of
Well,
logically looking at it, it should be.
because it was Arsenal and Villa were still in at that point.
No, you might be right. I think if that had been the case, we wouldn't have got a Conference League spot. So we would have had 7 in the Champions League, I think. And it's possibly correct on this.
Nah,
It is ridiculous. It is.
it's now the other problem, and nobody agrees with us on this one, so you probably won't either. If we're getting to the realms now where ninth could possibly get you into Europe, or 8th, 9th, so you're almost talking top half of your league have got a chance of some sort of European football,
Yeah.
be it Conference League, etc. And I just don't feel that if you finish 9th, you're geared up to be able to compete on both levels. Like your squad, you're just not like. And now someone will say, well, that's going to give them more money to generate to do that. But I just think the season after that, that's going to be damn difficult.
But
That's hard enough for us.
That's the difference between the leagues, isn't it? Because a team 9th in the Premier League
Mhm.
is going to be a million times better than a team that's 9th in. You could even throw
Oh, no,
France into that.
Pretty much anywhere around.
No,
Germany,
I'm giving you
that
that.
kind of thing.
Spain
And that's the
Spain
strength of the league.
Spain.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that. But
Spain
Chelsea-
is probably
they're still having
Chelsea-
to fly to Bosnia or something on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Chelsea
You know what I mean?
walked to the Conference League final.
and that's it. And that's why I don't have an issue with the Premier League having more Champions League spots because the teams are stronger or better. So and that's where it's coming down to is the ranking system and of being allowing more English teams into it because of what the England team does, what our teams when they're competing in Europe do. Our coefficiency is really high.
I almost feel it needs to change the name then.
It's an interesting
can't
one,
be
isn't
called
it?
a
'Cause
Well, it's not. It isn't. It's not the Champions League anymore. It hasn't been to your point
well,
for
since
it
many
became a league.
years.
It's just a funny one, though, isn't it? Because by having more teams in the Champions League, you have more teams getting knocked out of Europe earlier. If we had 5 teams in the Champions League, 4 teams in the Europa League, which if Man U or Tottenham had won it, meant back in, I think we'll have 3, and a couple in the Conference League, there's a good chance British teams, English teams win everything every year.
Yeah.
Because
But if
we
you're
are,
the strongest teams in the strongest leagues, that's what you should be doing.
but it is, but it's not good for the game.
Is
it?
I agree.
Like
it's
if you
not
got
good.
Man
Well, that's why
Man United
they
and
wanted
Tottenham,
to set up the Super League, isn't
Man
it?
United and Tottenham are both horse shit. This like rubbish this season.
Yeah.
Relegated. Like West Ham have gone ahead of them both this weekend by beating them, and yet Man United put Bilbao to bed. Like they pumped them both games. Bilbao are a good side.
I will say this,
by the standards of Spanish football.
even though I agree with this decision, if the Champions League people who got knocked out dropped into the Europa, these two would not be in that final.
That's true,
Which,
and I
which
agree as
is
well,
what
yeah.
happened
But
until it changed.
But I agree that you shouldn't be getting another bite of another cherry. Like
Yeah, you should
I think you're right.
you're in that and you're you know what I mean. But
I agree.
because
Right.
it's Man United's getting in the final, they should have been able to drop it. I'm joking.
Yeah,
next couple of questions. I'm going to do 2 more. There's been many questions about the
Crest.
No, there's
Oh,
not
sorry.
been a single one about the crest,
Really?
to believe it or not. Yeah, but it's about our neighbours down the road and about their game tomorrow,
All
and,
right.
and the anticipation that they could
Get it.
possibly get to a playoff final again, and the possibility of they could be returned to the Premier League. Yes, it's still 2 games away. They look like it's all but done in regards to the next one, which
don't
is
be right
tomorrow
in
night.
Coventry
Oh, I
City
don't
off.
think it is, Maya. Chris.
Oh, is he? Sorry.
I watched that game, and Jesus Christ, they both stunk the place out.
It was a terrible
It
game.
was a horrible
It
game.
was a terrible game of football.
But fingers crossed they don't get to the final. But what's your thoughts on it? Anybody want to see them?
Absolutely not.
I'd like to see them get to the final and lose it every year.
I'll take that. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, but the fans still get to enjoy a nice weekend in
Yeah.
London.
I think they've done
Give me.
really well to
That'd be their Europe.
the form that then went into this game bit on. Coventry's their bogey team, haven't beat them in 70 years.
Yeah.
They haven't won. I think they had lost 6 out of the last 7. I didn't think they'd beat them down there, and they did. Like, so
I didn't think they would, but I had wondered if they just kind of down tools because they had 4th wrapped up with like a month and a half.
do you
to go
not
or
think?
something.
I just don't think you can. Well, maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't think you could just turn it on like a tap. Like, you can't play that shit for that long.
If you
and
look
just
at
turn it on,
If you look at it as being a new competition, and we say because I say they had 4th wrapped up with
Uh-huh.
weeks and weeks and weeks ago this season. I
Yeah.
couldn't say when exactly. So the Briss, the manager, might have been saying to them, right, look, we've got 4th place. Like, we don't need to do it. Rest.
Just
And then
manage
for
games, yeah.
We've got a 3-game competition coming up. We want to be at our best for that. Similar to Liverpool and I keep saying Liverpool, Tottenham and Man U for the Europa League final. If they weren't in that final, they probably wouldn't have both got beaten the weekend.
Do you think? Sorry, I want to come back to that point. Sorry, I mean, they've still got. It's only 1 goal. It's only 1 goal. It's 2. So if Coventry score early, you know, or just score 8 goals. Sorry.
And let's be
Yeah.
honest, they were gifted that winning goal last week.
They were.
Yeah.
It was one of the worst passes you'll ever
They were.
see.
They were
What
shocking.
I'd also say is if they do come up, and I'm not just saying this because it's on. Look at the 3 teams. I mean, you've got like sort of was it Leicester?
Let's have
Absolutely.
Who was it?
Who won the league last year? Was it Ipswich that won it? Sorry, or Leicester won it. Leicester won it, didn't it?
Leicester won it.
Yeah.
So Southampton came on to playoffs. They beat Leeds in the final. Then Ipswich finished second.
So you got Leicester, and I'm sure they won it by quite a distance as well. Them have just been pumped in this division.
Yeah, it doesn't look great for them, for
tough.
those clubs that get promoted.
No, it's really tough. It's really tough, man. The gap's getting
Again,
larger.
it's bad for football. Like, I mean, it's
And I want to go back to that point he said about Spurs Man United. Do you think it's disrespectful on their fans that are paying good money, especially Man United fans? I know if they're paying 70 up on the game here. They just get pumped at home constantly now because they just do not care about league games. I just think that's so unfair on a fan that, like, you're turning up to watch your team play.
I think Gary Neville mentioned this.
Did he?
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny,
I'm sure
but I'm
it
trying
was
to
Gary
remove
Neville or
that.
Roy Keane that mentioned saying there's a lot of fans that going to Old Trafford for the first time, the young kids that'll be going, and they're seeing that
Every
like,
time,
yeah.
they've lost 17 games this season, but they're undefeated in Europe because clearly they're
focusing
just
on that. Yeah.
they're just focusing on that. But it's just, I don't know, it just feels like you're cheating.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to end it on this one. It is about the crest. It's just been sent in by Blue Rhythm Boy. That says, "Do you want to see the crest?" Sorry, I'll reword it. So he basically says, "Do you want to see the current crest redesigned, so a bit of a revamp, or a completely new design?"
if you had to pick one.
Yeah, so we'll go with the option it's definitely happening because it is, isn't it?
If it's definitely happening, then I would say completely resign.
Redesign,
No, but they've
like,
already said in the survey that because they gave you the 3 R's, didn't they?
Mhm.
Which was what was it? Refine, redesign, and something else.
Restore, something like that. Maybe
There's been in there, no?
Because one of the
recycle.
because the redesign that they blanked that out and said it wasn't an option and just did it on the.
And I think right, so
Refine and
we'll put it
restore
out
or
there
something
straight
there,
away.
didn't it?
Like I said, we will be doing
Can't
another
remember
podcast
what
about
it was
this one topic. But I think nobody wants the badge change.
No.
It's what we're all used to, apart from Mark. You've had them all. Did you react there? How many crests have you actually seen?
Yeah, 2 for me as well.
Nah, you must
No,
have
you'll have the-
3.
Maybe 3.
I was
Yeah.
alive for the first one, the circular one that's on the back of the collar this season, but I can't remember it. Like first time I've watched
Yeah,
it.
no, I can only remember the NUFC.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And it's
the
what
current.
we're used to. We're used
The
to
change
this
in
club
'88
badge.
was,
And
was when
I
it
think
did
Yeah,
it,
so
so
went down, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think we're all understand the reasons why the club are saying it to a certain.
we've spoken about the fact that we've
Numerous
expected it to happen
Mm.
a lot. Like we've
'Cause-
talked about the amount of clubs that have had to do it, where the one that's had the longest with the crest.
And
and
the
stuff.
reason-
So it's a matter of time.
Now.
The reason why we've looked at certain things like this before is because the number of colours which are in the current badge which can easily be stopped. Like you can change and revamp that slightly. But
Just look at your
and the
t-shirt
detail
you're wearing.
in the
The
crest as well.
detail's still there. Though,
And
isn't
we
it?
all went through this phase where we're buying Castor items and the stitching was horrendous. So some of them were fine, but you're always running that risk.
Just on that very point, the club have been unbelievably petty in the last since they've made this announcement with the crest
The
and changed it.
I've seen it.
Every single bit of content
They've
put in,
blurred it.
they've put the worst bit of badge that they can possibly
They've put a
find in
low
it.
res on everything.
Yeah.
And it's notable. You can see it.
100%.
I put a tweet out, which I've now deleted because I was just getting too much backlash off it, where basically the club had put a tweet on today with a design, which was the embroidered badge from a
It was
Castor
Castor one,
kit.
yeah. Where
Yeah.
it's the
They had also put the JPEG of the Newcastle crest, which is similar to
Bottom
this
left,
one, which I'm
yeah.
wearing, the bottom left, which
Terrific.
was unbelievably distorted. I took 2 minutes of my time, went on my phone, went on an app, redesigned the exact same post using a different photo, albeit I did use one off the Pro kit, and just put a decent resolution in regards to the crest that they had used.
But even then, they're using the Pro kit. That's something that they have done. They produced, so it can be
But
done.
I think they're saying that because that's costing more money to produce that. Then from a fan's perspective, we're not really going to get those sort of things unless it's probably
So
an
£90 a
iron-on
shirt's
crest.
not enough for a decent badge. Is it?
So,
100
well,
110 on the Pro kit.
this
We're not gonna
t-shirt
see
was
that.
What, 30?
30.
25 quid,
25,
30 quid?
Yeah.
We're not going to see that over. We're not going to see the pros and the cons of this. That's going to go in the club's pocket. The kits aren't going to come down in price for us, no
We
matter
know-
if
we
it's
know
cheap
why
or
they're
stays the
doing
same.
We know it's the whole, manufacturing costs
Yeah, of
and
course
stuff
it is.
like that, the reproduction of it and stuff like that. We know the issues that it causes.
I sent them. I was sitting in a beer keller on Saturday night in Cologne, and I sent them a proper screed. I sent them paragraph after paragraph of what I should do. I had a little sup.
Is this on your survey?
Aye, and it was about how they're talking about an identity and all that, but the amount of if they go for circular badge, which is what every club's done over the past how many years,
Soulless.
and that they're saying it's our identity. It's homogenized. It's Villa had one, Man City you've got one, Chelsea you've got one, the whole Man City sporting group. So you've got Melbourne, you've got New York City
Yeah,
FC.
very similar.
Off the top of my head, who else has got one? There's loads you go on the league table. Or the football
Brentford,
table, Bristol City
Brighton,
are playing tonight. They've
they're
got
all
one,
got-
South
Brentford,
Shields
Brighton.
done one not long ago.
South Shields have got
Theirs
Sarah
was for
one now.
different reasons, mine. But
That's why
There's
I
so many of
prefer
them.
what like Liverpool have done, Arsenal, Deka's team have done.
But kind
where
of, yeah.
They kind of use the cannon or they use the liver burden and stuff like that, where it's more simple and stuff like
But I
that.
would rather they would, instead of just kind of bastardizing that the one that we'll have now, if that's too hard to do, then have a completely new one. I'd rather not see a shit version of the one that we'll have.
Besty, I think there's
definitely-
another option. Deka, I think I'll come to you because we were talking about it before we started recording. Just revert back to one of the old badges.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Aye.
do not understand. There is options we have already had as a club that everyone's loved at some point in their life,
Mhm.
right? Just go back to that one. I got straight out my wardrobe on there, and I'm not saying it has to be this one, but I got out my wardrobe on Sunday because I seen the debate kicking off a bit on Saturday, and it was the white away one this year where we've put that
Yeah,
NUFC one on. It looks beautiful with a magpie on, and it's brilliant.
The only thing with
Just
that
go
one,
for that one.
only thing with that one
And
is
Leeds have done that with the LUFC.
Or
haven't
there's
they,
the
on theirs?
one. There's another one within that, which I think it's on the back of the home one now, right?
That's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
favorite
that's
one.
the-
I love
yeah.
it.
And I know we don't want to circular, but I get every argument you've said, by the way. Honestly, I do. But you could use that one, and that still ticks every box. It's probably easy to produce. It's a circular badge if that's what they want,
Even
or
if
whatever.
you've got to slightly adjust
Just
that
it,
one
yeah,
to
maybe
remove
like-
some of
yeah.
the detail.
Is it a creamy coloured background? It'll
Yeah.
probably be better.
I
It's the
just-
one with the river and the castle
Oh
in
yeah,
the
I know
background.
one.
Yeah.
My worry, and this isn't probably a really dad thing to say, a stupid thing to say,
We
but
all,
I'm gonna
we're
say
all
it,
dads here.
is the thought of moving a stadium and a new crest. I think it hurts us that.
And that's why
It really hurts us that.
for me, New Crest has to be off the table. Like changing it completely is not for me at all.
Have you seen the one doing the rounds?
I've seen loads of them and they're all absolutely terrible.
Is that the drawing type of one, or is that one that's actually been colorized and stuff? Because I've seen
There's
one
loads of them, like loads of people
I've
are putting
seen
them
one.
through AI and stuff like that and generating stuff.
No. So,
There's things-
apparently, the one that's doing the rounds, which a lot of people have seen, is one of the worst things you will ever see in your life.
The only good thing out of this is that it's written and it's part of the fans' charter. Is that, and they're already starting to do it because they're consulting with fans, which is what they said that they would do. Is that they can't.
I mean, what is that?
I've seen another one that's not a million miles away from that, but it's in the
Coloured.
proper colours
Seen
and
it.
it doesn't look as bad.
But it doesn't look great.
But if they keep
Hang
the
on.
badge and just make it
The thing is, though, if
more
you-
modern, more get rid of the like when the hoof, is it a hoof? The hoof's
Steady.
difficult to
I'm unsure here.
reproduce. Obviously,
if
the
you're
castle, the lion, there is a
you're
lot of
telling me-
difficult detail in there.
I'm
I
not saying there's
think-
not, but come on.
Well, that's what makes me think
This-
instead of having a version
more-
of the badge that I have now that's just altered, I would rather keep an aspect or two of it. So let's say the shield and the scroll and incorporate those in something completely different. So you haven't got two seahorses, you haven't got
Yeah,
the
but
castle
that's
of the
what I
lion.
mean. If they're saying there's too much detail in this badge to recreate,
Yeah,
you
that's
recreate the
what-
same thing again.
I
What's the
do
difference there?
apologize to people that because I don't really want to put it on screen in case it's doing the round. You'll be able to find it on social
So I
media.
walk over and
No, yeah,
No.
no. Just
See, I think the seahorses are an important
Well,
part
do,
of the
do you
badge
not
as well.
think, right?
It all
Because
is, though.
what I got from the survey where
The lion and the flag isn't an important part.
people
It
that
is historically.
people that don't know what happened, the club sent an email out and you had to basically click a link and it took you a link and you had to rate thing in regards to how important you felt that this item on it.
Yeah.
So you had to rate between 1 and 10, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the items were, if I remember off my head, and correct
Was
us if
the
I'm wrong, but I'll go
shield?
through. So it was the shield, the lion, the flag,
Yeah.
the
scroll.
seahorses, and the scroll.
Yeah.
Those are the 5 that I remember, and I think there was another one.
No,
The
I think
castle.
that was it.
The castle
The
was
castle,
one.
yeah, yeah.
The castle was one. If I'm being honest with you, I think the club have already got a design that doesn't feature any of them. And I think they've pushed that out and thinking, right, what's going to come back as the most important?
I
And
think
that's
they'll
going
have
to
a
be their
whole,
fan
yeah,
involvement.
yeah. I think they'll have a whole host of designs. The fact that they're working with a company that has already designed logos for various companies, has designed badges for various clubs, and
It's
in
to coin a phrase of coming in
different
saying
sports.
they missed the magpie out. That's why I think the crest that
Well,
they've
they
got
asked
designed
one
is
of-
a magpie.
One of the other questions that asked is there anything else you would like to see incorporated to that point? Somebody's
Hence
saying,
why
can we
it's
get a
so
magpie
much
in there?
easier just going back to one of the 2 previous badges.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yes, honestly, I love the seahorses. I love our crest, right? And the sea. We've had debate before when we're looking at third kits and saying, would the club use a seahorse or would they use a magpie for a third kit? And I love the feature of the seahorse, I really do. But we've now had it on the 2 previous badges, just gone. We just had the magpie on there, so just stick with that. And you've got a
Yeah.
castle in one, you've got the River Tyne in one of them.
You should
Just
see
stick
coat
with
of
that.
arms in the 70s, which was similar.
Yeah.
That was really, well, that's what that's based on, isn't it? The one that we have at the minute. But yeah, the one, I mean, I've got that, 76 to 83 was a circular one. 83 to 88 was the NUF.
And
the thing with the
yeah.
NUFC one, which I love as well, because it's
Yeah.
the one I remember from being a kid.
All my stuff in my room was that like.
A lot of mine was, but it doesn't say Newcastle United Football Club on it anywhere.
No,
Which
that's
is, if they're
true.
doing a redesign, they'll want it to say, you'll not need someone who's seeing that for the first time in Saudi Arabia, because obviously that's the big thing. You know,
That's
the
the push.
market and all
Do
that.
you know what it is?
If
Actually,
someone in Saudi says that, they're not going to know that's Newcastle.
that's a good point.
If it says Newcastle United Football Club or just Newcastle United, then that's going to. So I don't think that the
And
new
that's-
one.
No, it's in
and
the
that's
bin.
why
that
stepping
idea
away
is in the
from
bin.
that is a big, because it's iconic. Everybody, well, maybe it's not everybody in the world, but you show that badge to the majority of people out there, they know who it is.
Football fans,
It's an
certainly, yeah, yeah.
iconic badge. It's not just a run-of-the-mill badge like everybody else. Like
It is, but
Brighton and Hove Albion have got the exact same badge as another club. I think it's in
Well,
Finland
they got
or
done.
something.
They got done.
Exactly the same badge.
But if you look at Man City's badge, like, I mean, a lot of people, including myself, now actually I expect to see that one now, the new one.
Yeah,
Which is
well,
mad to
it
say
happens
that,
you-
because I'm
Chelsea
thinking
badge-
Keegan.
But
I think that Keegan Bean, Man City manager, and he had the old one on.
I love
Do you know what I mean? But
But
I
it's not a
think,
million miles away from that, because it's still
mate.
the internal bits with the shield and
But the
stuff
Chelsea
like
badge,
that. and
remember the
things.
Chelsea badge? That was the CFC with the line on it.
Yeah.
And they changed away from that, and I thought, oh, I don't want this. And now the Chelsea badge is, come on, man.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Do you know what it is
Yeah.
though? Like,
Yeah, the coat of arms type of thing.
yeah, it must be changed. I think what you look at though, you look at, we've already mentioned tonight, you look at the likes of Sunderland that reverted the other way. They went from what was kind of a modern crest in today's era and went to a similar to crest to what we have.
Loved our badge so much, I copied it
It
pretty
copied
much.
it basically. So like it might be a case down the line they're going to have
It's
to
more
go
or
back
less
over.
But
I mean, look at that, good point, Besty made there. These 2 teams playing the night there, circular badge there. Look,
Bristol City,
and
yeah.
Sheffield United is
Sheffield
exactly the
as
same.
well.
The keeper
Yeah.
one's exactly the same. And it is, I'm absolutely with you. What Mark said and what Besty said
Thing
is
is,
that like
the Man City going back, the Man City badge is basically the same as one that I had in the 80s.
Mhm.
And the Chelsea one as well. The Chelsea one
It
that I
is,
have in a
aye.
minute goes back to the
Yeah, it
70s, I
does,
think. So they did. I mean, they're both.
Having a circular logo with a shield on is a terrible idea.
you know, I just really, really hope God, I just hope it's good. Whatever they decide, it's Irish because
Look,
I would hate. Honestly, can you imagine just hating about it?
I'll tell you straight away, you'll hate it. You will hate it.
And then
And then after a few months, you'll love it.
You have a tattoo.
No,
Well, this is my biggest conundrum.
You've got no room left.
I've got any room left. I've already got 4 badges on me.
You
On
got
me
to
leg.
stick it on your head. I think
It's somebody
somebody
on the head.
Me foot is the top of me foot's the only place left on that.
Oh, I get what you were looking at.
Yeah,
now.
right.
Penny's just dropped there, hasn't it?
That was good. That was good.
Anything that you want to mention? Because we've been going for almost an hour and a half.
Nothing
What
for
was
me.
it?
Nice to be back though.
It's really warm in here at night as well.
It's dead warm. Like,
I know.
that's why I'm not wearing
Really
hoodies.
warm.
Really hot.
I'm just nice.
You've got a corner as well. Bit of a chat there.
You're wearing sliders, won't you?
Shorts and sliders.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for joining us live on this one. If you are listening or watching back, it means a lot to us. Just do the usual stuff that I ask as well. Like the video. People have been mentioning throughout this one to like this. Besty, you're really putting us off here by just staring at the side of my
Kind of
face.
trying to on one hand, but
Subscribe to the channel as well. Costs you nothing to do that. You can become a member. It is just $2.99 a month to do that, and you get extra features, early access to content as well. Like I said,
couldn't even buy a hooch for that.
we will £6 for a hooch, you know.
what?
And that
In the ground.
in freight, we were
Freight,
£6 for a hooch. We
Oh,
will
yeah.
be doing extra podcasts. You might have already seen we are doing a pre-game show now, which has gone down really well. The last couple of weeks that we've done that, so we're hoping to continue that as well. Roger's hosting it all the way from Canada, so his little idea, which is doing very, very well.
His little Willie.
His little Willie.
Has he turned into a Canadian?
Thanks everybody. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Ta-ra.